Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Carrie Oderman with UATV. Negotiations over the long-term transit of Russian gas via Ukraine to the European Union took place in Brussels. Dozens of representatives discussed the terms of a new contract and new tariffs, which will come into force next year, if an agreement is made. To talk more about the results of that meeting and other things, we welcome to our studio today Andrian Prokip, energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello, and thank you for being here. There's a long history between the negotiations that took place in Brussels. Why don't you fill our viewers in on that to begin with?
I'd like to start about the recent decision of the European Court about restriction of using Opal pipeline, which actually affected, I believe that it's affected on position of Russia and Ukraine regarding this negotiation, because the European Court stated that Russia can't use more than 50% of Opal pipeline. Opal starts at the end of the Nord Stream 1. And this means that Russia need like 18 billion cubic meters more to pipe through Ukraine. But on the other hand, next year they are starting the first leg of the Turk Stream, and this means 12 billion cubic meters less transport through Ukraine to Turkey. So in general, last year Ukraine was responsible for 86 billion cubic meters, comparing to 200 billion cubic meters of gas that Russia supplied to West. Because of all these changes, Russia will need about 5-6 billion cubic meters capacities more of Ukrainian pipeline. However, Russia, they plan to finish construction of the Nord Stream 2. They plan to finish construction of the second leg of Turk Stream. But the problem that these projects will be late, especially Nord Stream 2, and the same regulation as it was regarding the Opal pipeline, the same will be regarding the Nord Stream 2, I believe. So this means that under current condition, Russia will need about 50 billion cubic meters capacities of Ukrainian pipeline to supply gas to Western countries.
But only in the short term, correct?
Yeah, because we don't know. We don't know what will happen with the gas consumption in Europe, because there are a couple of factors affecting this. On the one hand, they are decreasing domestic production, so that means that they will need more imports. On the other hand, they are developing a production of biogas. And another factor, uncertainty factor, is what will be the demand for gas, natural gas, in Europe. So I believe that in 15 years there will be a serious drop of gas imports to EU from Russia. But if this 50% rule will be applied to both Nord Streams, that means that not Russia, but single company, Gazprom, can't use more than 50% of capacities of the pipeline. This means that Russia will still need Ukrainian gas pipeline in future, in the nearest couple of years. However, I believe that Russia may try to look for solutions to omit this restriction.
What could those solutions be?
That's a 50% restriction for single company. For example, if there appears another supplier, for example, Russian Novatek, which this year Russian Novatek LNG supplier became the second biggest gas supplier to European Union. So, and in theory, if there is another gas supplier in Russia, they both can use about 90% of pipelines. And this means less demand for Ukrainian pipeline. It's not so easy to reroute gas from Ukrainian pipeline to other pipelines, and this will take a couple of years because of delays in these pipelines construction. And that is actually the reason why Russia don't want to have a long-term contract, but something shorter, because if they sign a contract for 60 billion cubic meters for 10 years, they will have an extra capacities. They just don't want to have this, and then they want to bypass Ukraine in gas supply schemes.
Now, right now, I think Europe is getting about 30% of its natural gas from Russia. And in 15 years, you said there might be a transition to other forms of perhaps even renewable energies. But that's also 15 winters that Europe has to deal with. How will this transition look?
Well, it's very difficult to make any predictions because, for instance, there are factors affecting on decreasing of gas demand, but on the other hand, there are a couple of factors that may affect on increase for gas demand. For example, Germany is abandoning nuclear by 2023, and they will substitute this energy partly with coal and gas. On the other hand, they are trying to develop hydrogen energy. And this may affect seriously on gas demand in the European Union. And another, what I already mentioned, this boost in biogas production in the European Union. So it's very difficult to make any predictions, but I believe that in 10, 12 years there will be a serious drop in gas consumption in the European Union. However, for Russia, there is another serious consumer for Russian gas, there is China. And they probably will try to conquer Chinese gas market, but we can't make any serious, very good prediction for next 10 years about routes of gas supply to the European Union, and to talk about some exact volumes of gas.
Now, Ukraine needs the gas for heating, but they also get a large chunk of their budget in transit fees from Russia. What do you think is the larger motivation? The fees that they get from Russia for allowing the gas to pass through, or the actual gas that they need to heat the homes with?
Do you mean, is it talking about Ukraine or Russia?
Ukraine.
Okay. Beside these transit fees for Ukraine, an important issue is being this monopoly transitor, because in this case, both European Union and Russia are dependent from Ukraine. And this, as many believe in Ukraine, and as I do, this kind of protection in the case Russia decides to start a full war for Ukraine. It's about interconnection between Ukraine and the European Union and protection from Russia. But talking about potential Ukraine, so Ukraine has the second largest gas reserves in Europe. So that's a big potential to become self-sufficient, but it needs some time and a lot of investments to become self-sufficient.
Yeah, big infrastructure investments there, but you would think it would be a priority. Have you seen any moves forward on looking into withdrawing the natural gas from the Ukrainian soil?
Only private companies trying to boost production. And state-owned Ugrgazvodobывание, which is a subsidiary of Naftogaz of Ukraine, they decided to make another priority, not increasing gas production, but financial results from this activity. Because a problem for investments in gas production is situation at gas markets that gas prices have fallen seriously. So state-owned company a couple of weeks ago, they announced new priorities, and these priorities will be making money efficiently, but not producing a lot of gas.
Because there's uncertainty about the gas supply going into Europe this winter, has there been reports of gas stockpiling and prices in Europe being affected?
Mm-hmm. Well, situation with gas prices in Europe will depend on the fact, will Russia transit gas to Europe since January 1st or not? Because if there is no deal, Russia will not supply gas. This means that European states will start consuming gas from gas storages, and there will be a demand for LNG gas. And increasing demand for LNG means increasing prices. And all these LNG suppliers, including Russia, including US, and including Algeria, they will benefit from this. But the only part that will lose from this situation will be the European Union, because Ukraine will be protected because we have enough gas already. We have a lot of gas, but we will have enough gas to pass through the winter. Okay. So the only part that will lose in this situation will be the European Union, and maybe they will be more interested in under this condition. They will be more interested in pushing both parties, Ukraine and Russia, to negotiate about the future contract.
Well, that's all the time we have. It sounds like we're going to stay warm this winter in Ukraine, but we'll have to have a plan for the next couple winters after that.
Well, it's always good to have a plan, right?
That's a good way to end the interview. It's always good to have a plan. That was Andrian Prokip, energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more with UATV.